Well, hello, everybody. This is Larry from the Blue Collar Nation podcast. And I'm here with my super intentional business partner, the tech whisperer, Mr. Sprague. What's up, Eric? How are you today?
Not intentional, super intentional.
Super, and everything's super now.
You just
We're having a conversation. I was coming up with a word to make you look really clueless, which I enjoy doing.
You just added.
You were saying how
made it
you were working hard and focused and super focused and wearing you out. So it's like, I'm going to toss him a bone here.
Yeah.
Be super intentional, which is a big deal. Which is easier for you than me.
I was going to give you a reference about that with the Tour de France, but under everybody with minute detail.
Tour de France, yeah. You go into like minutia. I think that's going to be that great after all. So anyway, what do we got going on here today? I think we have a sponsor for this show. What do you think?
We do. We have Super Tech University. Let's let Michelle Blevins roll tape.
Bada bing. So anyway, we're going to do a killer show, just you and I, Eric, and it's all going to be about talking. It's going to be talking about business is an extreme sport, which I enjoy saying on a regular basis because people don't seem to think about it that way. But it is complete.
I love how you've made my quote your own.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I stole it, turned it around, spun around, and it's mine now.
Yeah, you can have it, man. It's fine. We're a team. As long as we're winning, it's okay.
Well, people don't they think of extreme sports. Oh my God, I wouldn't do that. Oh yeah, but you'll work 15 hours a day for 15 years and you won't think much about it. That's an extreme sport. A complete dial in your system to give up your life towards something. And
when I come from a sports background and you have to do a lot of things, like you're burning the candle at both ends all the time, and it's always like this balance between like I'm going to use the sports thing, like practicing, like really working hard, but then recovering, right? And they're opposites of each other. Well, it works that way too, man. It's like the work's always going to be there. Like no matter what, as an entrepreneur, like there's never a shortage of things to do, and it can be completely overwhelming. So I always say, like if you're a business owner, you don't lead a normal life, right? That's not normal. Like you don't get up at 7 and go to work at 8 and clock out at 5 every day and never think about work 1 second after you clock out, or never work on weekends. Like it's totally different to that. It's like it's all the time. It never ends. So that's not normal. So therefore, at least in my mind, you can't behave normally. You have to do things to offset that, or you'll go insane. I mean, the statistics prove it, Larry. Like entrepreneurs have one of the highest suicide rates. They have one of the highest mental health issue rates. They have a very high drug and alcohol dependency rate because there's tons and tons of pressure. And if we're not going to do those things, which hopefully we're not, then we have to try our best to manage. And that's really what the show's about.
It's a huge commitment that you make deep down to make your business work dramatically. And people that are doing extreme sports, you have to be committed completely because they're quite dangerous. And that commitment level kind of can get a little bit crazy. And if it's not taken controlled properly, or at least coached properly, we can go in the coaching direction. But to be an extreme sport, you have to be coached properly to do what you need to do. And same thing with the being an entrepreneur. You need direction. You need people showing you what to do. Otherwise, you'll rack up those hours. And it's like intentional practice, like golfing. You've got to get coached properly to get that swing down. You can swing a million times and get better at it. But unless someone says, you might want to tweak this or that, you're just going to be practicing the wrong way. And it's the same thing with extreme sports and having a business.
Perfect practice makes perfect. Practice doesn't make
Yeah.
perfect. You could ingrain the wrong habit over and over and over and over and just be worse off and lose all your time. You know, you look at it that, yeah, I think you and I look at it differently a little bit too. You look at it from
Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, no, they're wrong. They're both totally right. Whenever you and I have a conversation about this, you kind of go down the coaching road, which it makes total sense, right? I mean, yeah, the more feedback you can get from a third party who's got your best interest at heart, the better your decision making process you're going to be. Look, I coach a lot of people, and one of the first things I tell them is like, all right, how much are you working? All right, we got to build in some time off. We need to build in some recovery for you. So what I look at it like more is you look at it like the golf thing. Like you have to find somebody to tell you, like, this is how you do this and do it over and over. And that's totally correct. I look at it think of like a triathlete. They have to run, they have to swim, they have to bike, right? So they have this massive training load, 25 to 30 hours a week. And then, so in all the rest of the time, they need to be doing the things to get ready for the next training tomorrow, or, the race on Saturday. And, business owners don't do that. We just grind. And there's this like false thing of just like this hustle culture, grind, 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 grind. And you and I have done it. You can only grind so hard. One of the reasons
the expectation is that if you grind
2 days ago, I mean, we both basically beat ourselves into the ground when we had our restoration business. I can remember both being almost in tears. We were so tired just from burnout. And, we promised ourselves when we started this business, we wouldn't do that, right? That's not smart. That's not the way to do it. You had a conversation 2 days ago. I was laying on the floor of my office, like telling you I'm like so exhausted, I can't even sit up. And you're telling me basically the same thing, and I said to you, I was like, dude, I'm not tired. I'm Shamrock tired. The name of our restoration company. And, I just recognized like you and I are in this grind mode right now because the business is growing and more is asked of us. And we're at that precipice of we could really go down the wrong path if we're not careful when it comes to taking care of ourselves. And we've already done this. Yep. Both of us. You're better than me at this, to be honest.
It works both ways, and better at other things than you are. Some things better than I am. I would want to say the grind. Everybody thinks the grind will lead you to where you want to be. If you work that hard and you go at it that hard, you're going to be successful. But it's not always the case. And we learn that, and we're learning it not 100% as we used to. We're being reflective and contemplating what's working, what isn't working. But the grind doesn't mean that you're going to be where you want to be. You've got to like step back and rest and think. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just, and we were guilty of it for many years. I mean, everybody is part of the time. And that's why I lean on the coaching, because someone's like, yo, what are you doing? Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
That's interesting. I just had a restorer here at the office from far away yesterday. We were having lunch and we had the conversation of how much time are you taking off? I don't take time off. Like, okay.
It's like a pride. It's a badge of honor.
How long do you think that is sustainable? Wow, not much longer. I'm really burning out. It's like, okay, well, let's figure out a way for you to be successful long term. I had a boss, and when I got my first like real job, I remember I was just grinding, man. Like I always just tried to make up with hard work, whatever I lack in intelligence or whatever skill. It's like I'll just go full bore or similar. And I remember him come down because I was getting to the office at like 5 a.m., which, as you know, is not my style. And I would be there till 8, 9, 10 p.m. I mean, I was grinding. I was young and I was hungry. He just came in and sat down one day and he was like, no, man, I appreciate what you're doing. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You cannot work like this forever. Like, I need you to back off. Like, I like what you're doing and I appreciate what you're trying to do. And yes, if you need to do that for periods of time. And this is a guy that was, kind of my dad's age. So he'd been around a long time and seen it all. And he was just like, you can't keep this pace, and I don't want you to burn out. I'd rather have you feeling good. He's like, so grind when you have to grind and rest when you need to rest. And I'll never forget that. 'Cause I was like, wow, my boss just told me to work less. Like, I didn't think that even existed. No, but he was wise. So I want to start with that, Larry. Let's talk about
Tell us the habits, because you've got habits and rituals and routines that you do
yeah, well, I was
that
going to
you're better
first.
at than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I stole your thunder for a
I think
second there.
I'm better at the managing, maybe the time portion of this, and you're far better than me in managing the mental health aspect of this. We'll get into both, right? Yeah. So I was thinking, look, it was different in our restoration business, but I'll talk about the business we have now, right? So, yes, I have lots of coaching calls every day, and I have the ability to schedule them when I want. One of the first things that I'm not a morning person, never have been. I forced myself for 20 years to get up early. So one of my recovery tools is getting up at a time that is comfortable for me, right? Like, it doesn't sound like much to most people. And I know you go online and it's like, beat the sun up and all that stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's great if that works for you, but it doesn't work for me. So I get up at the same time every day, I go to bed at the same time every day, and I really prioritize my sleep. He bought me an Oura ring a few years ago for a Christmas, which was, other than the whiteboard he bought me, probably the best Christmas present ever.
It's
The
so
whiteboard
weird.
good. Double-sided
We should
whiteboard.
have stole that back.
You can't beat that as a present. But anyway, the Oura ring, because I'm not a good sleeper, I'd be the type that would stay up way too late and then have to get up early and then be tired all day. And I had the mentality of, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And I was going to be dead if I
Well, we
didn't.
learned that the sleep is super important. Before we got the ring, we said, wait a minute, I think we're missing something here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you were that way a little bit too. You burn the candle both ends too much.
Oh, yeah.
So once I started, I like data. I like to look at numbers. And, once I saw it in black and white, like, you slept this many hours, this much deep sleep, this much REM sleep, you were awake for this long, all of a sudden it's a system. So I started developing a system for sleep. I need to go to bed at this time. I need to not eat so close to bed so that, like, my heart rate isn't jacked through the roof. And it was like, I learned through the data of the ring what I could and could not do. Like, I also can't exercise late night. Remember, I used to go ride my bike till like 11 o'clock at night, because I like that time at the end of the day just to decompress. But then I'm up till 3 a.m. because I'm wired from riding 40 miles or whatever. So, now I schedule training time in the middle of the day, and then I work late, because this works better for me. So it's really, and look, I understand if you have a plumbing company, if you have an HVAC company, if you have, like, it's not so easy to do those things, right? You have just like you and I did, you have times when you got to be there and times when you get to leave, right? But try to make it work best for you, whatever it is. Like, come up with a daily routine. And then for me,
what helped with you in the middle of the day when you would take off and bike with the restoration business, everybody knew it was good for you. And it was good for everybody else as well. If the leader got out of there and wasn't grumpy and was in a better place and was able to lead better.
Totally.
And they're like, yeah, go. Just come back in a couple hours. We'll be good.
I can remember being in the office and I'd be getting worked up. And I can remember, certain admin people come in the office and be like, maybe you should go take a bike ride.
Get out of here. You're an ass.
Yeah, they like, you know what? Right. That's a good idea. I'll see you in an hour and a half. And I go out and ride for a half hour, take a quick shower, go back to the office. I could work till 9 o'clock at night. No problem. I was happy. Everybody was better off. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah. I mean, it helps. I mean, yesterday I was trying to manufacture energy. I was so beat from, just all the stuff that you and I have been doing. I was like, okay, I should be shooting videos right now. If I just shoot videos, they're going to be terrible because I'm so beat. So I went and rode my bike for, hour and a half, thinking that would, like, cure me. And it didn't. No. I actually even felt worse. So it's like, then I was like, okay, I need sleep. I'm obviously not sleeping. Like, I need just some rest. So I went and did the meetings that I had to do from 11 to 6 p.m. And then normally I'd stay here at the office till 8 or 9. And I was like, I'm just going to go home to bed. So I guess finding the balance between how much do I need to rest and how much do I need to sleep. So like my normal day, I work in pieces. I get up into the office, I work for 3 or 4 hours. I go exercise for an hour. Then I'll work for 3 or 4 more hours. Then I'll the gym is right across the street. I might run over and do a little bit of more exercise, but then that gains me more time to work because I feel good. So then I'll work till 8:45, 9 o'clock, and I'll drive home. And I that works for me. That wouldn't work for everybody. I also don't have young kids at home waiting for me anymore. So that changes the equation too.
Yeah. Well, it makes it better.
I mean, when we had a restoration company, I mean, you had kids on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you used to, and I think this actually was good for you. You used to have to leave at 2 or 2:30 on Tuesdays or Thursdays. And I'd come back and go see you or whatever later the day. And, you'd be hanging with the kids and making dinner and happy. And I think that was good for your mental health. And I think it's also when you kind of got your rest or it would fill your cup again.
I was completely committed not to flow off that time because the kids didn't live with me. So that was something in my head that was ingrained. That's their time. And granted, I was taking calls and doing some things, but they've got the majority of my attention during those hours. And that helped an awful lot. And it was great when they'd spend the night. I'd go to bed around 8 o'clock and they'd sit up with you for hours. And I wake up at 10 or 11 to all this noise.
Down there, hang out with your kids, just talking.
What are you guys doing? Larry? This kid needs to go to sleep, please.
Yeah, but you know what? I have a good relationship with both of your kids.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's what are you guys doing?
Yeah. Anyway, so how do you manage now? Because your lifestyle's really changed. You got rid of your house, you live in the van, you're traveling all around. And I know that's been a little bit hard on you in some ways. So why don't you explain to everybody what you're doing?
Well, it's been good. I spent last 6 months or so. It's been with a couple months with my sister and a couple months here with my folks, and just visiting people individually. And I was with you for a while early on. It's easier when I'm in one place and there's a routine, and I'm able to be more functional and catch up on things. I mean, it was great. Sometimes for certain weeks in the van, I sleep great in the van. And I could go to Starbucks the majority of the day and then go see a client or two during the day. But the routine of, that was good. But I like people around me, people that I can hang out with and stuff. And I wasn't getting that.
Well, I remember when you said, yeah, I'm going to get rid of my house. I'm going to move into my van. I'm going to get a van. I'm going to travel all around. It's going to be so cool. I mean, I know you. You don't like being alone a lot. I mean, yeah, everybody needs some alone time, but that's not your jam. And I'm thinking to myself, it's going to be alone a lot, a lot.
Yeah. Well, I needed a change because I was having so many social activities all the time and it wasn't being fulfilled. It just got overwhelming, which was great. I mean, I love my friends and everybody in Southern California. And if anybody's listened to them, I miss them totally. And I was just talking, like I was saying, to Ed in Southern California. And I just miss him so much. But so I needed to swing the pendulum back the other way. And now I just got to find a little bit of balance in the middle and I'll be good.
Yeah. I think for me, I the only frustration I have is when you're traveling so much, I just can tell. I can tell not as much work gets done. It just shows. So it's finding a way to do both. And I know that's not easy.
Yeah. So I'm figuring it out. I'm getting better. I'm just staying in places until I get a plan. But next week we're going to be traveling, and then we got another month off, and then we got 2 weeks of traveling at the end of August.
Yeah.
So let's see because there's a traveling schedule and there's a work schedule.
Well, and that's what you and I have both learned. It's it's very hard. You can't get both done. You can get the same amount of work done when you're on the road that you can when you're at desk. So you have to adapt and get that work done before you go on the road so that it kind of takes you through the time. I mean, that's what I'm learning. Today, I shot, multiple weeks of lesson videos because it's like, I got to get these done. I don't want to have to worry about this stuff when I'm traveling, you know?
It was the same thing. It was similar when we had the restoration business, which many of the people will relate more to when we were stopped and work in the service business, is you couldn't be working around the clock. You had to take care of yourself and you couldn't neglect your family. You had to take care of your family.
Yeah.
And you just had to prioritize. That was a big thing I didn't do. I didn't prioritize and reflect on my time. Say, okay, this is working, this isn't working, because you could just get so absorbed. And that now both my kids are gone. So I was like, oh, I have all this time. But like what Volcker always say, you gotta work 6 hours a day really hard and then take the rest of the day to focus on what you need to do.
Yeah.
Clear your mind. And then the 6 hours, you're going to really get tons accomplished. Like today, for the first 4 or 5 hours a day, I got more done in those hours than I did the last 3 days, just because I was
Well, because when you
planned it out,
when you
prioritized.
feel like, yeah, because I was going to say you have to prioritize if you condense the time. So now you only do the important things. I mean, Volcker also always says you're an entrepreneur. You get paid for accomplishment, not activity. Nobody cares how much you did. They only care what it yields. So, I remember for me, one of the most productive periods, I think, was, we had the restoration and cleaning business, and I started training for the Tour of Foothills. And I was coming like from off the couch, like working ungodly hours and eating fast food every day, to I'm going to do this 100-mile bike race where I have barely ridden a bike in 5 years, and with all this climbing. So all of a sudden I had to do a lot of training. But dude, actually, it made me better because it was like, well, I have to get this stuff done because I got to go ride for 3 hours tonight. So like when I condensed the time, I actually feel like I was way better. Plus, for me, the more I exercise, the nicer person I am.
Oh, totally. I could second that. But it's the same thing as the vacation thing. Everybody before the vacation gets a ton accomplished, so because they know they're not going to be able to do it for the next week or two or wherever long they're going on vacation.
Yeah.
So you're really focused and you're really dialed, and you get 10 times the amount of work done right before your vacation. Why can't you just translate that into your regular work schedule? Condense everything you got to do in your time allotted, and then all of a sudden you'd have so much more free time. It was a quote that Skylar gave me years ago, Skylar Lewis, and he's saying, you fill the time with the work that you have. So if you're given a task that's 5 hours to do it, you're going to fill for 5 hours. If you only have 2 hours, you can get it done in 2 hours.
I think that's called Parkinson's law.
There you go. Sounds familiar. Perfect.
I believe. I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't
super
know that
good idea,
exactly,
Mike.
but yeah. Because I mean, you ever I remember this vividly back when you and I used to lift weights all the time, and that was like the focal point of our lives. And I remember I got out of work. I think we were in college. I was probably home for the summer, and I was driving home, and I don't know, we were going to go out or it's going to go vacation or whatever. And I was like, man, I didn't work out today. Like that's no good. I'm like, I can run in there for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, which back in the day, dude, that was unheard of. It was like, I got to be there for 2 hours, but I was like, all right, I'm going to go in there for 15 minutes and just hammer out what I hammer out in the jet. And I remember the next couple of days, I was so sore. I was so much more sore than normal because in that 15 minutes, I packed in so much intensity because I only had this short amount of time. I never forgot that. I'm like, geez, I wonder if I should be working out like this all the time.
It's a Mensa routine that he was always talking about.
Yeah. But it's the same thing if you only have a short period of time. All right.
Yep.
So Larry, what do you do to manage your mental health? Because mental health is a real issue for a lot of us in entrepreneur land, right? We get stressed, we get overwhelmed, get depressed. Happens.
A close friend of mine, Heather Salazar, gave me a journal, 10-minute journal or 5-minute journal, something like that. And I've been journaling every day for years. And that helps a ton because writing is very cathartic for me. And that journal would translate into writing down more. That's why I got this iPad, and you got one also. You can just keep writing and writing and writing. I used to have like 10 yellow pads all over the place. Couldn't keep track of it. But writing
so you journal in your iPad.
helps.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, every
I
day.
actually didn't until right now. I didn't know you journal every day.
Yeah,
I
that
didn't know
Heather
that.
gave me that, and then Tanya helped me put a template in there that's just there all the time. It's like an ongoing template,
Hmm.
and it's perfect. And I
So
just use it every
explain
day,
to
every
everybody,
morning and the
how does
evening.
it help though? Like, what is it? You like write
You
down
just
your
go over what you're
frustrations
grateful
and stuff?
for and what's working and what isn't working, and you just get things off of your head, out of my head onto the paper, and it guides me just a little bit. I mean, it's only 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, but it just brings you conscious, brings you present for that. Because the thing is, you don't always become present, and that's what I realized. We're just flying along full speed, and like zoom, and stop and think. Okay, cool. So now I have these little built-in routines. Okay, what are my aha moments? What did I fix that was really good
Well,
that
that's a
day? And
productivity
then
thing though, but how did it make you feel better? I'm talking about your mental
this would
health,
make
not
me.
you being productive. I mean, they're not the same.
What I'm saying is, I would write down the things that I did really well, and then I do the Darren Hardy routine every Monday morning. So I would be able to translate all my journaling for the week into the really good things I put down, what I did well, starting my week to reinforce what's working, what isn't working, what fixes, aha moments, things that you resolve. And I would just put it down. It just brings me present. It seems to work. I like it. I like it.
Good.
What
I
about
got,
you? What are you doing for
I got,
your head?
I got nothing.
Your head standing on your head.
I got nothing. I mean, I meditated for a while and that did seem to help. And I just got out of the habit. And, it's interesting. There's this guy on the internet. His name's Wes Watson. He came out of prison and started some big business or whatever. And I was just listening to a podcast with him. I can't remember who was interviewing him. And, he said something that really, if anybody knows, he's a very high D, like over the top D. And he said, I wake up every morning just fucking pissed off. Like every day when I wake up angry. And I was like, me too. And he said, well, no, it really resonated because like, I don't know why. Like that's just my state. I wake up and I'm pissed. And I'm thinking, I've been feeling that for 56 years. And nobody's ever said any, like I sit in the quiet in the corner, like I didn't know anybody else would feel that way. And he said, I have to work. The more I do, and as the day goes on, I feel better and better and better and better. The more I start getting things done, and I'm like, that's how I feel, So it's like I have to get a bunch of things finished, and then I start feeling better. And by the afternoon, I'm like in a great mood. But I just start every day, so it's almost like you start every day with a tank empty, and I have to fill it. Where you start the day full and you're emptying it. Right? It's a totally different thing.
Totally. It's the exact opposite.
Yeah. And Larry, I have no idea why I wake up and I'm pissed. Like I mean, nothing changes between.
I don't go to bed angry. I just go to bed
I
tired.
don't
The
go bed.
angry doesn't come
I
in.
go to bed in a great mood. This is the point. So I go to bed in an awesome mood and I wake up angry and I have no idea why. It's been that way since I was a little kid. Just pissed when I woke up every day. And it's why Dr. Rome says D's die young. And so what I've been doing is I'm trying to like learn how can I minimize that effect, right? Like, I don't want to wake up every day pissed. I always joke on the podcast, like I only have two emotions: winning and anger. It's like if I'm not winning, I'm angry. It's one or the other, and there's way too much truth in that. So look, I'll be the first to admit I am no good at the mental health aspect of being an entrepreneur. Like that's been a struggle for me. I think if I went back to meditating, that would probably help. I guess I tried the
We
gratitude
brought up Volker,
journaling
who's a
thing, dude.
colleague of ours. Huh?
I tried the gratitude
Oh,
journaling thing. It just didn't resonate with me
no, it's all good.
whatsoever.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So we brought up Volker a few minutes ago. He's a colleague of ours. He's a good friend of yours, and we bike together. And then he's a guy that has similar personality to you, and you're very good observing others. What is he and other people like him? Actually, let's go back to the guy that you listened to on the podcast that was grumpy. What is it what does he do that you can glean off of that?
Well, no, he kind of said, he's like, I got to get to work. I got to get up and I got to get moving. I got to make things happen. And as they start happening, I feel better and better and better. He's like, I can't like, I can't like sit around in the morning because I'll just get angrier. If like the less I do, the worse I'll feel. So I've got to get up and get, produce. I guess he didn't say the word producing, but like he has to get up and start doing stuff.
To accomplish something. Yeah.
Yeah. And then as soon as he gets a couple like little wins under his belt, he said he felt better. So, I mean, I don't know why he's wired that way. And I don't know why I'm wired that way, but I guarantee you, I mean, I don't want to, psychoanalyze our friend on the show, but I think our mutual friend may be a bit that way too.
So I'm saying, what does he do?
Well, no, he's been on a long journey of self-discovery with this. He's been really my mentor with, I mean, I know he gets up in, at whatever time he gets up, a little later. He's like me, he's not a morning person. First thing he does, I believe, is he'll sit down, have a cup of coffee, and then go to yoga for an hour. Like that just chills him out a bit because he's high strung, right? Just like, typical high D stuff. And then I know he'll get all he basically gets all his exercise in the morning. And I think he's trying to burn off anxiety, frustration, whatever. And then he has a very strict schedule where he starts at like noon and he works till 7. And that he got to get everything done between noon and 7. That's his, like, he condenses that time. There's no working till 9. There's no going in at 8. Like it's noon to 7. I'm going to just run like hell. And I think, he does the meditation, he does the yoga, he does the cycling, the lifting, and he's been working at being more calm. It's a job for him. And he views that this is, exactly what we're talking about. Just, the people listening, he's hugely successful. Like if most of us could ever reach a fraction of his success, we'd be winning. And I think he views that, Larry, like it's a job. Like he views that as like part of me running. Like he's got a couple hundred employees in just one business. He's got a couple hundred employees and he's got several businesses. So he's got a lot of people. And he's just like, I have to be good for them to be good. So I have to do what I have to do to be good so that I can help everybody else be better. That's pretty much what he talks about. And, he brings in his companies, I know he brings in a masseuse to give people massages. They have, they can get like gym passes. There's actually a restaurant like in the building that he owns that I think can go healthy food. So I think they might get a discount there. Like he's trying to create this place where people can thrive. He takes it very seriously.
That's what you do. Yeah, we have to be intentional about it. I mean, that was the word I brought up earlier that you're working on that. And we're both putting it together like that. All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, the work-life balance is a myth.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's not a myth. It's something to shoot for, but it's never going to happen completely.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like Gary Keller's thing in the one thing where he kind of like, I can't remember what he called it, like blast and cruise or something, where you go, you tell everybody in your life, hey, for the next 3 weeks, I'm hard. And then the 3 weeks after that, I'm going to kind of cruise a little and spend more time with all of you guys and bring it down. And then I'm going to blast. Like, so he does these like sprints and then he chills a little and then he does a sprint and then he chills a little. Like, to me, that's more work-life balance than trying to balance every day. How do you balance every day? Like, what if you get a flood call at 7:00 at night and you're just about to go home and eat dinner with your family? Dude, you're off running and you'll be out till midnight, right?
Yeah.
Like for you and I,
and that messes up day after day after day.
Yeah, I mean, for you and I, it used to be that in the early days when we were on call. Basically, it's just you and I on call all the time. And we used to do a thing where we'd get so many calls at night. You and I were switching on and off every other day, just so that the other guy could get sleep next night. And then the next guy. So basically, you and I are sleeping every other night, which we did that for way too long.
And that was the best thing we did when we fired that guy from calling us so much. We gave up a lot of money, but we got our life back and we made it up in other places.
well, and to be honest, I don't think the business could have, we were just stuck on running around all night, every night, and you and I weren't happy. So,
I mean, you got to figure out that was, we made a decision in our lifestyle as well as with our business when we're like, you know what, this is too much.
well, I try to do
Way.
that now, I mean, like in the mornings, I'm finally home and off the road for the first time in 30 years. And I mean, you hear me say like, hey, I got to go home. I got to go, watch TV with the kids before they go to bed. Or, like my kids are 19 and 21. Like they're not going to be around that much longer. I got to try to get a little bit of time with them before they go. And I'm very aware of that. Yeah, I try to eat breakfast with everybody before I leave for work. And I've never done that before. That actually has improved my mental health more than anything. Just some family time. And family comes
great
stuff too, but all in all.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess let's try to get a couple takeaways for everybody before we shut this down. Right. So number one, I guess is you can't work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You can't do it. Right. You can do it for a little bit, but you can't do it for long. And so you got to figure out some sort of work schedule that you can manage. And that doesn't mean you don't have times when you grind, but you can't do it all the time, right? So to take my old boss's thing, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So that would be number one, don't you think? Number two, we didn't really address it, but it's getting some exercise and eating well. I mean,
and that is so unaddressed and underrated in entrepreneurs that it's so important. I mean, it's changed my lifestyle or my outlook. If I'm not training or getting them some kind of exercise, I'm useless over time. And it's just so bad for our bodies. And you're the same way. Once you get out and you exercise a little bit, you're good. But we get real busy for a month or two. And oh my gosh, when's the last time I broke a sweat?
No, that's one of the things. Like I try to do the thing where I train almost to the verge of overtraining before we go on the road. And then when we're on the road, I don't train because I want to prioritize sleep because we're going these long days. And it's like, I have learned for me that sleep is more important than training. Like, yes, training's super important to me. When I'm home, I can do both. But when on the road, I kind of have to pick one. And I've just learned that if I sleep, I'm better. But by the time we come off the road, man, I am so raring to exercise, like missing a week or week and a half, it just mentally does feel good. Just not, that doesn't make me happy. So yeah, I think everybody should try to eat well, whatever that looks like for them. And look, I don't want to get into some nutrition debate. Like just eat good food. Don't live life on Monsters and Doritos, right? Just like try to eat fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, meats, whatever, just
you do make that effort. We all know what's good and we're putting it out. So we know it. So
yeah,
got to make that effort.
And then I think the last thing is just like you said, whether it's journaling, spending time with loved ones, meditating, yoga, like our friend, just doing something to try to ease pressure of being a business owner. I mean, look, for some people that just might be like fishing, or playing golf.
Exactly. Everybody's got their thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like you love to do yoga, and for me, my time on the bike. I never wear a headset, never listen to anything. That's just my time and my thoughts. And to be honest, I try to go hard enough that I can't think because it's just like dead time in my brain. If you're suffering, you can't be thinking what you're going to do tomorrow. You're in the moment,
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's land this plane, dude. I don't know if that was helpful to anybody, but
we hope it was. I'm sure it did something. And send us a message if you like. Larry at supertechu.com, Eric at supertechu.com. We love hearing from people. It's always a pleasure. And let's get out of here. We're out, Eric.
All right, we're out.